sister shows from the Strange Society Network. Lots of great podcasts to listen to. Make sure you check it out. I'm your host with the most, the one, the only Monster Mash Ken. And with me is my co-host, the Mistress of Darkness, the Queen of Fright, the Lady of the Night Muse. How you doing tonight, lady?
I'm good. Just love it. I'm glad it's October. It's spooky season. Well, it's spooky season 365 for me, but I'm just excited. It's October, my favorite month of the year.
You know, we got some bad news today. I thought about you. Eddie Van Halen, man.
Oh, well, why did you think about
that?
me with Eddie? No, I haven't heard anything about Eddie Van Halen. I've been out of the loop for the past couple of days. I don't know what's going on. What's going on?
He died.
Eddie Van Halen died?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea. I just saw something about him in the news about his son, actually. And I didn't hear anything like that.
He was a Raider fan, by the way.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Anyway, I was a big Van Halen. Well, I'm still a Van Halen.
I am a huge Van Halen fan. Yeah, big time. Oh, wow. I had no idea. That sucks. This 2020 just continues to suck really bad.
Yeah. Well, you know who doesn't suck is Chris, the creature here. How you doing, Chris?
2020 has been wonderful. I've written 5 books this year, and
you have a lot of good substance to write about.
I don't know. I mean, it's got nothing to do with viruses, but I am sad to hear that Heather Locklear's husband died. I think they were married.
Probably at one point,
yeah. But I'm doing great. You know, there's so much to be grateful for. And I had an all-you-can-eat buffet lunch today, and I don't think I'm going to eat again till Thanksgiving. I might
just
explode.
Make sure you hit that mute button if there's any bodily functions going on.
Yeah.
Well, you know what smells like bodily function is Florida, and the man behind horror or promote horror, Horo. What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, I'm here with a splitting headache. You guys probably can't tell, but my head is really aching. But
is that a knife?
Yeah, that is a knife. You know, it's not coming out great for those of you who are watching. But you know, I'm trying to get into the Halloween spirit as much as I can, as much as 2020 is ruining it for us all. But yeah, this is my gag for tonight.
Well, I dig it, brother. I dig it. Thank you guys for joining us in the chat room on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook and on Periscope, welcome. We got a really good show tonight. Obviously, we always like to bring the thunder. Really excited for this movie we're going to talk about, The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw. Man, I really enjoyed this movie. Muse, you know that I like The Witch and these gothic horrors type, you know, and I put this one on and I could just tell this is going to be a really good movie. So later on, we'll be speaking to the director of the film, Thomas Robert Lee. So I cannot wait for that. And we'll be doing our normal get-ups. And so, yeah, I'm going to kick it right off with the Fear the Beer of the Week. I got a really cool one that I'm excited to try. I've been wanting to try it for a while. But this is a Harpoon Dunkin' Pumpkin. So it's I don't know if you guys ever go to Dunkin' Donuts, but they have, I personally don't like their coffee that much. It's all right, but a lot of people like it. And once you get like a pumpkin, you know, I'll go by there every now and then because they got a nice drive-through. But yeah, so Fear the Beer of the Week for this week is the Dunkin' Pumpkin. And I'll continue my pumpkin ales. Let's see how it tastes. Cheers to you guys. Oh, that's actually really good. Yeah, 5.2% alcohol. Harpoon Brewery, Dunkin' Pumpkin. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, I know we're going to do like a horror movie flashback or something that's come out this day. So there was a movie that had came out. It was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What was it? The newer one. Oh, shit, I forgot. But anyway, I don't want to talk about it, so it doesn't matter. I wanted to talk about movies that I watched during Halloween. And I picked 4 movies that I'll talk about for each week because I think we have 4 more weeks till Halloween. But the first one that I always have to watch is Beetlejuice. Now, you've got a great cast in this one. Obviously, Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, Gina Davis, Alec Baldwin, Winona Ryder, the 2 parents, I forgot their names, but Beetlejuice is just one of those movies that it's going to be timeless. It's a classic. Sometimes like I'm on Facebook, I know social media is a younger driven thing now, and I'm getting on the older side, not like Chris old, but like somewhere in there. And people are like, oh, I'm going to watch Beetlejuice for the first time. Like, where the hell have you been where you have not watched Beetlejuice before? This is Tim Burton's best here, one of his best, at least, if not the best. That'd be a good debate, Muse. What Tim Burton movie is the best? But I definitely put this one up there. Check it out. It's a good way to start off your Halloween month of October with some Dunkin' Pumpkin beer. And that's my horror movie flashback and Fear the Beer of the Week. So let's get right in to the Sinister Six with that news.
Okay, so I thought it would be, I really didn't know where to go with the Sinister Six this week. I usually like to line it up with our film. And I've already talked about some of our favorite movies featuring witches and stuff like that. I didn't really want to go back to that. I do want to revisit that maybe in kind of like a different vein at some point. But there's something that happens in The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw, and I'm not going to do any spoilers, but there is a moment, there's a lot going on during an eclipse in this film. And it triggers a lot of things. And Chris is going to get into that later. But I thought I would run down some of my favorite movies and really interesting movies and really, really good ones to check out if you have missed some of them that feature things that happen around the happening of a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse or things of that nature. I thought that would be kind of cool, a lot different. So I was like, man, where do I go with this? Because I was like, I already talked about witches, but so this was really cool. After I actually made it the list after I watched the movie, and I thought, okay, yes, I'm going with this. So first up is a really fun film. We all know this one. It's been done. I believe the original wasn't in the 1950s, but I'm focusing on the 1986 version of Little Shop of Horrors. And obviously, we know this film. And so I'm going to run that back down for you really fast. And again, I'm going to swing back around to the guys here in a little bit and see what some of their favorites are, or if maybe, hopefully, I don't mention them during the top six. But so the first movie is Little Shop of Horrors. Centers around the character of Seymour, a meek flower shop assistant, in this case played by Rick Moranis. And he's pining for his coworker, Audrey. During a total eclipse, he discovers an unusual plant he names Audrey 2, which feeds only on human flesh and blood. So this is like, I'm not really a big fan of musicals, and I'm not slamming them or anything, but this is one of the rare exceptions as far as, musicals go. It's just a really fun movie. But so the growing plant attracts a great deal of business for the previously struggling store. And after Seymour feeds Audrey's boyfriend, Orrin, played by Steve Martin, really, really great role for him, by the way. I love Steve Martin. So he feeds Orrin to the plant. After Orrin's accidental death, he must come up with more bodies for the increasingly bloodthirsty plant. And of course, we know the famous line, "Feed me, Seymour, feed me." It's just a really fun movie. So that is the first film that centers around an eclipse, a total eclipse in this case. The second film I've actually mentioned on a previous Sinister Six, and it is absolutely just, I'm going to mention it probably 50 million more times, and it's The House of the Devil from 2009 by director Ty West, and centers around the character of Samantha Hughes, who's desperate to make some money so she can move into a new apartment. And she's played brilliantly by Jocelyn Donahue, who I love. And she takes this mysterious babysitting job. So when she arrives at the house, Mr. Ullman, played by Tom Noonan, mentions a full lunar eclipse and explains there is no child, but that Samantha will be watching his mother instead. After exploring the sinister-seeming house, Samantha soon comes to realize that her employers are hiding a horrifying secret and have plans to use her, dead or alive. And of course, it revolves a lot around this lunar eclipse, of course. So definitely one of those films that I think some have seen, but I would imagine, I haven't heard about this one a ton on Twitter, a little bit, but I definitely don't think it gets the recognition or the love. So definitely check that out. My third movie is one that Chris, I think, has talked about with me before, and I imagine he's probably reviewed it on his blog. Bloody Birthday from 1981. And we talked about this one briefly a while ago, and I had seen this probably about 5 or 6 years ago on Netflix. I was looking for something to watch, and I'd never seen this one. And I thought, okay, check this out. This movie just blew me away. You don't really see murderous. I've seen Children of the Corn, but there's something about Bloody Birthday that really, really unnerved me. And of course, it centers around 3 children that are born during a solar eclipse. And this basically turns them into murderous, evil children. And they're doing horrible things to everybody, that they can get their hands on. And I remember just some of the scenes, and I just remember thinking, gosh, this was in 1981. I can just imagine the controversy that this created, because it was just so off, off the chain crazy. So just definitely one of those movies that you definitely should revisit. It's just one of those, cases, because I mean, I think in horror, we don't really want to see anything happening to children. And I also think that we really don't want to see children doing horrible, murderous things either. It's just kind of like a line that's crossed for a lot of people. We're horror fans, so we love it. We love all of it, but it's pretty crazy. And as a horror fan, I was like, wow, I'm like, what in the world? These children are just like spawns of Satan. But it's a really great movie, and one that doesn't get talked about a ton, but definitely one of those like killer children movies that really you should revisit if you have not seen it. And it's on Tubi, streaming on Tubi TV right now, so it's free. So check that out if you have not seen it. The fourth movie is one of my favorite Stephen King movies, actually, and it's Dolores Claiborne. And I have the book, and it's one of the many books that's in my pile I've not read yet. Me and Chris were talking about that a little while ago. I'm like reading like 3 or 4 books right now, and that's in the pile. But it centers around Dolores Claiborne, as she's in a small New England town, and she works as a housekeeper for the rich but heartless Vera Donovan. And when Vera turns up dead, Dolores is accused of killing her elderly employer. So her estranged daughter, Selena, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, it's just really, and everybody in this film is just absolutely fantastic too. You got Max von Sydow, you've got, Kathy Bates knocking it out of the park again. Jennifer Jason Leigh was great. And even Vera Donovan, played by Judy Parfitt, was excellent too. She was just like this really like high society, just cold-hearted kind of lady, but she does help Dolores out in a way, I guess you could say. So her daughter Selena at this point is a well-respected New York City journalist, and she decides to visit her mother and investigate the matter for herself. And as Selena digs deeper into the case, she uncovers shocking truths about the murder in her own childhood. So you're probably wondering, if you have not seen this one, where an eclipse comes in, and it's actually a pretty pivotal point in the movie where, Dolores is actually accused of killing her employer, but she really did kill her husband, who is like an abusive alcoholic, just absolute, just piece of garbage, husband. And she finally is basically trying to defend herself. And actually, I think it's Vera Donovan that gives her the idea about how to make this happen. And she takes advantage of the eclipse and everybody being distracted, and kind of, I guess you could say, I would say it's premeditated, but I can't say I, really blame her. I think he was going to end up killing her one day anyways, the way it was going. And also he does some other things in the movie that become revealed later on that he definitely needed to, I can totally understand why she killed him. And I think this is actually why she finally does it. So I don't want to ruin anything, so I'm not going to bring it up, but there's definitely more to it than him just being abusive towards her. So I'll leave that there. But just a fantastic movie. So yes, that occurs during a solar eclipse, her husband's murder. And it's just, I remember the cinematography and the color in this one that was just fantastic during that whole scene. It's just fantastic scene. The fifth movie is one that we had live tweeted probably about a year or two ago now, called Veronica, from 2017. And this is actually still streaming on Netflix. And this one centers on a solar eclipse. And during this solar eclipse, a young girl named Veronica and her friends want to summon the spirit of Veronica's father using a Ouija board. Really bad idea, but they do it. And however, during the session, of course, she loses consciousness, and soon it becomes clear that evil demons have arrived, like they usually do with the Ouija board. But this is a really underrated horror film as well. Definitely a slow burn, but really, really fantastic. If you do like the demonic genre of horror, I love it. It's fantastic. It is streaming on Netflix. So definitely check that one out. And my last one is a classic. I usually like to end with a classic, and it's The Seventh Sign from 1988, starring the beautiful Demi Moore. And this one centers around Abby Quinn, played by Demi Moore, but it's kind of lining up with the events of the apocalypse, I guess you could say. And I guess prior to his death on the crucifix, Jesus Christ was offered a drink of water, a kind act turned away by a Roman soldier. So these events play a profound role in these occurrences during modern times, which some construe as signs of Christ's return and the apocalypse. So Abby Quinn believes the end is coming and that her unborn child may be in danger as a result. Father Lucci, a Vatican agent, is doubtful no matter what evidence she presents. And so basically in this one, it's an eclipse that actually is signaling a catastrophic earthquake that's to follow, and it's to line up with events in the book of Revelations. So Definitely a classic. I have not seen it forever. I definitely am jonesing to see this one again. It's been ages since I've seen it. I think it's streaming on Pluto TV for free as well. So lots of great horror free right now during the month of October. So be on the lookout for all those free streaming services like Pluto and Tubi. So that is my list. So I am going to swing around and I am going to start with Ken this time and ask him what some of his favorites horror movies surrounding an eclipse may be.
Hands down, American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. There's nothing.
I thought you were going to say Hellboy. I was waiting for Hellboy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. I think,
Good one.
I remember watching American Werewolf in London and with John Landis and Rick Baker doing all the makeup, and that's kind of what really, that and like Nightmare on Elm Street really got me into horror, thanks to my dad. And then you go back and you want to throw in a little side movie that kind of has to do with a werewolf, is Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller, because obviously that Landis did the makeup there and Rick Baker he did the directing and Rick Baker did the makeup there. So those two are my picks.
All right. Okay, I'm going to head over now to Chris and ask him what some of his favorites are that involve an eclipse, lunar or solar.
I don't know if it's specifically a lunar or solar eclipse, but when funny things happen to the sun or the moon, I'm just going to throw that in too. A couple come right to mind. One is Skinwalkers. We talked about that Rona Mitra movie. There's a mysterious blood moon that's coming, and when it does, that's when all the stuff is going to happen, where the world is either going to be taken over by werewolves or Rona Mitra will be able to fight them all off and keep everything pristine. And the other one, when the sun sort of disappears for 30 days, is 30 days a night. Not technically an eclipse, but it's gone, not just for 8 or 10 hours, but it's gone for an unnatural amount of time. And of course, Barrow, Alaska will be completely wiped out during this long night.
I love those picks. And I was researching about horror movies about eclipses, and I saw Skinwalkers, and I go, that's Chris. He's going to say, oh yes, he did not disappoint. So I'm so excited. I was like, I'm not picking that one on purpose because I know he's going to say that one. And actually I watched pieces of it. I didn't get to see all of it, but I loved the movie. And I remember you talking about it. I think you did it on one of your creature features actually here on the show. And I was like, that sounds like a movie that I would really get into and dig. And of course, I love 30 Days a Night. So I'm such a huge fan of that. A great, great vampire movie. Yes. All right, Omar. I know Omar's going to have like some cool indie stuff I have never seen. And I love that because I'm always looking for new horror that I have not heard of.
Well, first, when you first mentioned the category, I unfortunately had the nightmare of Twilight series coming back because one of those movies is called Eclipse, and I'm like, why does the nightmare continue? So there really is nothing more scarier than that. I don't even remember if that episode had anything to do with Eclipse or not. I really don't remember. There's obviously werewolves in the stupid movie.
It just had to go with the theme of.
It just continues.
She had nothing left. She's like, I got nothing.
It's just out of control here. And the other movie that I was going to mention was Veronica, but you already mentioned it. And the only other one that I could think of, which I don't remember if it was any good or not, is a movie called Darkness, and I think that was in early 2000.
Yep.
But I don't remember specifically if it was any good or not, so I'm not going to say I recommend it, but I definitely remember it having something to do with an eclipse and so forth. But yeah, definitely stay away from Twilight eclipse. That's oof.
I do want to, you know what, Ms. I do want to mention one more movie, Apocalypto. Did you guys see that one? And
I seen that one.
That was hardcore.
I didn't know if I've never seen it, so I was like, is that horror? Or I was kind of trying to stay with the horror.
I wasn't really horror, but I was scared.
Yeah, I heard it was gory.
You have to sit up there and wait to get your head bashed in. That's kind of scary to me. Don't sign me up for that. I mean, I don't want to get hunted by men half naked. That's not me. I'm good.
Yeah, count me out. I don't want my head smashed in. No, thank you.
Women, okay, I'll settle for that. Apocalypto 2. There you go. Sign me up.
All right, so yeah, that's my Sinister Six for the week, and I can't wait to hear what Chris has in store and what Omar has in store coming up next.
Yeah. Let's get right into the Promote Horror Rundown with Horo.
All right. So today we're going to look at remakes again, and I'm not going to do too much complaining here again either. I'm more interested in bringing this up to see what you guys think. And I'm going to compare Rec versus Quarantine here. And this is a very easy comparison because they're basically the same freaking movie. Um, this is just one of those instances where an American distributor film people decided, hey, look, that's a good film over there. Let's rush it and bring it over here to America as quick as we can before it actually arrives here and throw it in front of our audience. And that's basically what happens here. Rec is in 2007, and that is from Spain. And of course, Quarantine is from here in America, and that's in 2008. Um, both of them have basically the same plot because, again, they're basically the same movie. You have a TV crew that has gone to a fire station here to see what is going to happen that night, to see what they can film, and see if they can get on a good adventure. And they picked a perfectly bad night to be there because they end up getting called to a building and they end up locked there with some very dangerous events unfolding. So again, movies are pretty much the same. Obviously, the 2008 version stars Jennifer Carpenter. Much respect to her, love her. Definitely done wrong in Dexter, but we could talk about Dexter another day. Um, I'm not going to complain about much here. The probably one difference in this movie that's a little recognizable is that the 2008 version kind of goes in the way of the explanation for what's going on here. And this is again, if you want to call zombies or loosely zombies here, depending on your definition of zombies. But in Quarantine, we're talking a little bit more of a rabies virus going on here. They kind of play the dog angle. There was maybe a dog sick in the building. There's also at the end of the movie some explanation where somebody on the top floor was maybe doing some experimenting and doing stuff that he wasn't supposed to. So there's a little bit of that mix. Whereas Rec kind of played it off more of a religion, and that is why this is happening. So it had a little bit more of a religious theme to it. But what really amazed me is when I looked to bring this up and talk about this, I went over to YouTube, and there are several people who have put both movies side by side in clips together, and it is so much the same. Like, I mean, the shots are the same. Uh, Even scenes that weren't even important, like in the beginning in the firehouse. I mean, you could have changed that easily, had them doing something else. I mean, if you want to make a slight difference, you could have done something else. But the scenes are almost matched up. It's like they were really afraid to go in any other direction here. I mean, Jennifer Carpenter's playing basketball, the girl in the Rec is playing basketball. It's crazy how similar they are. Even as you get later on, you see some of the scarier scenes. A lot of those scenes are the same. So if you haven't seen it, it's pretty weird and awkward to see. So go over to YouTube and just enter like Rec versus Quarantine or something like that. And some people put up the videos and they're just like side by side, and it's pretty crazy to look at there. Um, Interestingly enough, the Quarantine set was actually a set. They actually built that, and I believe it was 4 floors or so. Whereas Rec was actually shot in an apartment. So you can kind of tell the difference here depending on what you're looking for there. To me, it looked like Rec was maybe a little bit more of an original house, or apartment building, which it was. It just seemed like it was maybe a tad more darker and so forth, and maybe it was just the darkness of the whole movie. Um, but probably the thing, there's a couple of scenes that really stand out in the movie, and one is when the firefighter just basically falls from one of the top floors, and everybody's just standing around on the bottom floors, and then all of a sudden just boom. um, that is a pretty freaky scene, and both movies do that. You can see that side by side. That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie because you really don't expect it. And apparently in Rec, when they did that, apparently those actors had no idea that was coming. So the view you get is all their original looks and scared. And I would have probably jumped to the roof, if I was in that room, because that is crazy stuff there. There was another movie that did something similar to that we talked about not too long ago, which apparently works as a great scare scene. And obviously the end of the movie, where in Quarantine and so did in Rec, where basically the girl ends up on the floor. You know, you can't see what's going on. Lots of drama there, and all of a sudden she gets grabbed and pulled away. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the first time I remember seeing that. Maybe it was done another time. You know, I'm not a great history buff here for, but that always comes to mind when I think of that scene. And we've seen that scene repeated in different movies after that. So I don't know again if that kind of sets the stage for that. But when I think of that kind of scene, or I see that scene done in another movie nowadays, I always go back to Quarantine and even Wreck. And that is just freaky to be in complete darkness and then all of a sudden just get yanked away. But yeah, so nothing really to complain about here. Just bringing up these two movies. You know, it's a great time of year to revisit these two if you haven't seen them. You know, again, you know, there's a little bit of a zombie theme, you know, depending on your angle of zombies here. So, you know, we don't need to get in that argument, but it kind of ventures into that area. But I think both movies are really well done. You know, if you're not looking to sit through the language barrier of Wreck, you can put on Quarantine. And again, it's basically the same movie. And you're just looking for the frights and the scares here and the zombiness. There's some nice bloody scenes in there as well. So yeah, again, not a big complaining episode here. So I'll see what you guys think. And I think I'm going to jump over to Chris first.
Oh, I have so much to say. First of all, I agree with you. But if you want to look really smart, just say you like the Spanish version with subtitles, and people will think you're smart. You know, I mean, you know, if you hang around snobbish elites, I don't know why you would, but if you did, just say you like the Spanish version. Now, they are just about the same movie, but I gotta say, a nod of the cap to the Spain, and a nod of the cap to the U.S. for two of the sequels. On the American side, Quarantine 2 Terminal, two sultry flight attendants are warding off this thing in an airplane, and they are sultry. The movie starts off with them coming from a rock concert and changing into their stewardess outfits in the backseat of a cab. You can't beat that opening. Now, they'll eventually get uglier and uglier as the thing spreads through the airplane, but you know, if you know the deal there. And also the fourth one, Rec 4, the Spanish version, takes place right where the first one ends, with the girl getting pulled back. Well, in the fourth Rec movie, the one in Spain, I think there was another one with a bride at a wedding, but that, I don't know if that was before or after. But it opens up on not an ocean liner, but a freighter, where it's quarantined because they got the survivors of this thing on board. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And she's one of the survivors. And it goes back and forth. It's actually a pretty good movie. And if you've seen the fourth one, and I forget the lady's name, but the actress, the Spanish actress who plays her, Velasco, I think is her last name. It's just stunning and a really neat movie, and there are twists in it, and you think it's this person and it's not. And the only thing you could criticize it for is it a virus? Is it a parasite? Is it a whatever? And they go back and forth through the whole thing. So, I'm actually even a big fan of the subsequent Rex and Quarantine movies.
Yeah. I think they're good. It's a good series, basically.
I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to say that the Spanish version was really good, and I really enjoyed it. Just
snob.
I'm just kidding. I didn't see it. I didn't see the Spanish version. I only saw the English version, Quarantine, and I'll be honest with you, I was a really big Carpenter fan, Jennifer Carpenter, and I met her at San Diego one time, and she was just so opposite from her Dexter character, right? She was so sweet. And then I was like, they were promoting that movie, Quarantine, and then I watched it, and it was really good. It had some really good jump scares in there. And I know when we get to Muse, I know she's all about the found footage type, and I thought there were some scenes in there that were really scary, like, oh shit, So yeah, I give it a thumbs up. I'll have to definitely check out Rec. I didn't see it yet, but I did. It's always just been on my list. So yeah, good stuff. Muse, what do you think?
Well, I'm gonna hang my head in shame in this one, and I did see Quarantine, but I did not see Wreck. I have not seen, and I have had so many people go, what? And so yeah, I'm not gonna impress the smart crowd tonight.
Birds of a feather. We're a team
Yeah,
tonight.
so when
Yeah.
he said that, I was like, oh my God, because I'm gonna be the only one here that has not seen Wreck, and I'm gonna feel like such a jerk. But I have not seen it, and I heard it's spectacular, and I heard it's better, but according to kind of like what Horo is saying, it sounds kind of like very much the same. So I don't feel too bad. They both sound spectacular, and I am a huge found footage fan. You nailed it. And when Omar Horo over here mentioned Jennifer Carpenter's demise on Dexter, I was like, please stop, because I have not finished that series, and I've heard season 5 is to avoid, but I'm gonna watch it all because I'm a glutton for punishment. So I'm like, please don't say what happens, because I'm just gonna chuck that right off my Netflix list. I've been avoiding it because of the way it ends up. I guess I heard it's one of the worst endings for a series ever. Short of The Sopranos is, I guess, a lot of people. I'm getting off the track here.
No, it's fine. It's good because you're right. And one day we will talk about Dexter.
Yeah.
And I thought that when John Lithgow came in, he was awesome. And then it was just, they had to end it,
Everybody's like, don't even watch season 5. And I'm like, well, I gotta finish it. I'm just like gonna be like, wait, I can't just. I'm too I can't do that, dude. I gotta finish it if I start it, But I've been kind of procrastinating. But so when he said Jennifer Carpenter's demise, I was like, okay, well, I know that something happens to her, I'm sure, but I'm like, please don't say. But yeah, I mean, I've not seen Wreck, and it is on my list. It's October. I'm on top of it. I got to track it down, but I heard it's fantastic.
Yeah. Way to hijack Horo's segment there.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. A couple of things before I move to the news. First thing is, since you both haven't seen Wreck, but you both saw Quarantine, I would say, unless you're really inspired to, you don't even really have to bother. I would say, if anything, just pretend it's the Spanish version and go and jump to part 2 and of Wreck and move on. And I would probably, I don't know how Chris feels about it, but I would say jump to Wreck part 2 and move on and finish that series. And then if you want to come back to Quarantine and watch the rest of that, if my recollection is right, I think the part where Chris mentioned at the beginning was really good, but then as that movie goes on, it just fails in comparison to anything that Wreck has done and anything that Quarantine did. It's kind of interesting because it is in a plane and, kind of gives you that kind of atmosphere. But as far as a movie and a series, Wreck has its moments going on, and Quarantine, I think there's reasons why that kind of series just stopped. And as far as Dexter, no spoilers here. One day we should definitely have a conversation about Dexter because it's well worth it. But I really wasn't trying to get into Jennifer Carpenter's death or anything like that. It was just the poor her and what her character had to go through in the entire series. But she was just a fabulous character to play next to Dexter. And what a series. Yeah, it was a disappointing end, but that was a really hard thing to end. And if you watch the whole thing, it's when you come to a conclusion like that and you have someone who's done, I think it was 7 or 8 seasons of that, it's, do you kill him off? Do you let him live? What do you do? Are you ever going to revisit this again? So do you kill him again, or do you just leave it a mystery? So it's, I don't know where they were going when they kind of ended that. But I was really sad to see it go. Not every season was great, but I think over the course of the whole series, it's definitely worth a watch, and definitely an interesting angle here of a serial killer trying to do right, but finding out that is really hard to do. But I guess we'll end the Dexter talk at that and jump into the news. Maybe one day we'll do a special Dexter show or something.
I dig it.
Let's see. Something else that you can dig, Ken, is maybe you can go to Camp Crystal Lake, because I guess they're opening it up in New Jersey, and I guess they have that special event again where you can go and take the tour or spend some time over there, and hopefully Jason comes out and tries to get you.
Yeah, it's not too far from me. I was actually up there watching the Raiders lose against the Patriots last week. But yeah, what's her name? The woman that was in the first Jason, or first Friday the 13th, the actress in the boat. Do you guys remember her name?
Adrian King.
Adrian King. Yeah, right. She's got her winery up there too, so I want to definitely check that out.
Oh, that's a 2-for-1 special. You get some wine and you take it over to the camp, you do some drinking, and then see what happens.
Yeah.
And again, that is, I guess they're going to do that on Halloween and on, we have a Friday the 13th actually in November. So I guess they're going to open for those dates there. A trailer for you guys to check out, just shout out today. And that's Arch Enemy. It's going to be a big movie. It's going to come out in December. So if you haven't seen the trailer yet, we posted it. And we'll, Promote Horror probably has some more information when we get closer to that releasing. But that again is from Adam Ejab Mortimer, who did Daniel Isn't Real. So if you've seen that, this is his next film. So, you're going to expect big things in this movie based on that movie. And if you haven't seen Daniel Isn't Real, great October watch. Turn that on. Let's see here. For Chris, Resident Evil remake, which they're doing in the works. I guess they've done the casting now, and I guess it's going to feature the first 2 games. I guess it's going to cover the first 2 games and that kind of area. So that's a little bit of news there. And also, your girl Mila, they put out a teaser for the new Monster Hunter movie, which I'm guessing we're not going to see till next year. But the teaser is out for that if you haven't caught that as well. That I'm definitely looking forward to. Treehouse of Horror goes on and on and on and on and on. I guess this is going to be number 31, and that will be on October 18th. And I guess they're doing, now they're part of Disney, so I guess they're doing a Pixar kind of version of it, amongst some of the other topics they'll cover. So that'll be some fun stuff there. Here we go with the depressing 2000 curse that we continue to go through here. Jurassic World has been pushed back, and Batman Sparkles has also been pushed back to 2022. So that is very depressing news there. Dune is going to be pushed back to next year. I know Ken was so ready for that one. And also Terrifier. It looks like it's going to be pushed back to next year. So we had high hopes for a lot of those movies, especially Batman Sparkles, but we all now have time to get ready for those. Something you can watch right now, and I definitely recommend that, is Exorcism at 60,000 Feet. They've made that free on Tubi TV. So as Muse alluded to earlier, some great things that you can watch there. Add this to your list. I watched it. A totally fun movie. If you like Airplane from, I believe it's the 80s, Chris maybe can date that better than I can. But if you like Airplane, this is definitely a great, kind of version of that with a horror spin on it. So if you can deal with that kind of comedy and stuff, I definitely recommend watching that. And let's see here. Speaking of recommendations, my recommendations this week are The Possessor, which I thought was a little weird, but then I saw a lot of people really liking it, so I can see why they like it. It's kind of brutal there. So definitely check that out. That's on demand now, digital, I believe, and it might have been in some theaters as well. And The Mortuary Collection, which I know I mentioned because I saw that a couple of months back. It's coming to Shudder next week, and probably because I saw it earlier, I can say to watch it when it comes to Shudder next week. Definitely worth it. It's an anthology. Clancy Brown is in it. So good. So those are my recommendations, and that's a quick bite of the news there.
Yeah, it is sad that we're not going to be able to watch movies. I mean, you can go to some theaters, but the big movies they're obviously pushing back till next year, which is that's crazy. You nailed it though. I mean, obviously I want to watch Pattinson with you in Florida, and Dune just getting pushed back. That sucks too. But you know what? It is what it is. We're going to move on and hope for the best. And one guy to bring us out of the slums is Chris the Creature with the Creature Feature of the Week.
Hey, delighted to be here. This is difficult because I don't want to mention the first 5 minutes of this movie, and I don't want to mention the last 5 minutes of the movie. Usually you're safe mentioning the first 5 minutes, but when you see this movie, you'll understand why I don't want to give spoilers. And I really work hard, especially on this podcast, not to give spoilers, especially for new movies. If they're 30, 40, 50 years old, I'm not too concerned about that. But, this is a weird one. It is without humor. It is. It's not in black and white. It's in color, but I tell you, it's under some filter where it's very, very gloomy. And of course, we're going to talk about the movie, The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw. Begs the question: who is Audrey Earnshaw? Well, that question is a very important question to the people of this little Irish village. I keep wanting to say New England village, but it's an Irish village, and things aren't going well in the village. And I don't know if you want to say famine or pestilence, but bad things are happening. You know, you alluded to the eclipse. That's going to happen, although there's a lot more going on than an eclipse. The fruit and the vegetables are turning rotten. Kids are dying. Illness, sickness. Cattle are dying. Cattle are mutating. There's a two-headed calf born in one of these things, and if you tend to be a superstitious person, and in this film, this village is, and they might have reason to be. The unknown and the unexplained can make you superstitious really fast, and so the bad things are happening. They're going south real fast. And they're asking what's going on, and they all got a pretty good idea, and that is the Earnshaw farm. Agatha Earnshaw, who is, one might say she's the star of this movie. We'll talk about Audrey Earnshaw in just a second, but Agatha is the one we meet right away, and Agatha has got a tough job. She has got to make sure that what she has on her farm, and we'll talk about that in a second, stays secret. And people don't start snooping around, and people don't start asking questions. That's out the window. That's not going to happen. And now she needs the cooperation from everything on the farm on the other end to try to mute or blunt the fallout. She's not going to get that either, because what she has is Audrey. Who's Audrey? What is Audrey? I want to bring up the movie Basket Case, because that's what I was thinking of. And the movie Basket Case has no semblance to this movie, but Audrey, she totes Audrey around in a big little box, kind of like a basket. And this is how Audrey gets out. She's secret. Nobody knows of her existence. It's been rumored, but nobody has ever seen Audrey Earnshaw, and you'll find out why. Now, much like movies where there's only one man left on Earth, by the time the first half hour is over, there's always several more, and they want to kill the one guy. Well, Audrey's presence in this box, or with Agatha, her mom, is going to be found out by accident. And when it does, this movie goes from ominous and bleak to uber ominous and uber bleak. See, Audrey's hitting adolescence. She's a teenager. I don't know if you all have teenage girls. It's horrific enough, but Audrey, I don't want to call her the spawn of Satan. She might be, teenage girls might be, but Audrey comes into the teen years, and she has an appreciation for Agatha, who has raised her in secret. Now, Audrey, like most teenage girls, think they know it all. Well, Audrey might, but Agatha needs to keep her identity a secret. Now, Audrey is a little bolder than Agatha. Audrey does not like the injustice, because people are doing bad things to Agatha because they're acting out. They're blaming Agatha. I think they slug her at one point, and they're threatening her. They come in, one guy almost molests her, and Audrey's had enough. Doesn't want to see Agatha pushed around. Now, Agatha says, oh, no, let him push me around. We can't draw attention here. Well, telling a teenage girl not to draw attention. It's good they didn't have Facebook when this movie took place, because that would have ruined everything. I don't know how many satanic cults have probably been ruined by Facebook because you want anonymity, and you're the satanic cult marketing director. You get on Facebook, right? And well, it ends after that. Because all of a sudden you've got unwanted attention. Well, they got unwanted attention, but Audrey, she's got fight in her, and people start dying, not mysteriously, but like at the throat's gut. And Audrey decides to go on the offensive. And what does that look like? And you're asking, well, is she Satan? Is she the spawn of Satan? No spoilers here, but I think it's a pretty good bet. So Audrey has a master plan. One of the guys who slugs Agatha, Audrey says, nah, he's going to pay. And he does pay. And he doesn't just pay by, stepping in a hole and breaking his ankle. Audrey's got this thought out. You want to see how this guy's going to pay? It is horrific. It is horrifying. It is taboo. What you're going to see on the screen is a bit taboo. Some people aren't going to like it. They say, this movie should not go there. Well, the movie goes there. And Audrey is this beautiful, I don't know, she's 17. I think there's a reference to something happening 17 years ago. So I want to think she's almost 17 years old. And then the townsfolk get wind that Audrey exists and she is indeed alive. And if you see her, you're not the same. And you see it. You see these people who see her and they are not the same. Now, what Audrey is going to do to this one guy who slugged Agatha, she does much more than that, because what Agatha's farm is there for, and I didn't even mention anybody else on the farm, but you're going to see it's very mysterious. It is there for a reason. It is there as a vital location for evil to go forth. Now is the time where evil is going to get up out of that crate and go forth. And Audrey starts the ball rolling. And when she does, it just doesn't mean rotten fruit and a mutated calf. The carnage that is going to take place is going to be unnerving, unsettling, gory. There'll be gore in this movie, and it'll compile. And there'll be times in this movie when you see what's coming and you say, no, don't show that. Don't show that. And like I said, I'm not going to mention the ending to you, but it's dread. No humor in this. If you saw The Witch, it's kind of an unfair comparison, because I don't think this is as ambiguous as The Witch was. I think this is going to be a little bit more straightforward. And however mysterious the ending is, I don't think there's any doubt what's happening at the end of the movie. And you'll see it when you see this movie. I don't want to give it away. But The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw is not the feel-good movie of the 21st century. And there are questions you are going to have about the movie. And like Ken and I, before we got on, we started talking about a couple of things, and we were bouncing it off each other. We both saw it. And I look forward to talking to the
Thomas.
director. Yeah. In just a couple minutes.
Yeah. So real quick before we get on with Thomas, I just want to ask you guys what you guys thought about the movie. Personally, I really, really like this movie. It's a really well done movie. Muse, what did you think about this movie?
I'm sorry. I had my microphone muted. I didn't want any background noise. I love this one. I mean, yeah, it had definitely, I loved it. Kind of almost like a period piece of horror, but I think I was reading that actually it was taking place in 1970, but it was, they're living kind of like in the 1800s still, which was really cool. I love period horror. And it had that village feel to it as well. Kind of like, I think with keeping with the old ways. But I loved it. I was absolutely transfixed the whole time. It was just something that
great way to put that. I agree.
Yeah, I was transfixed. I was just absolutely hypnotized by this movie.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I'll stop it and start it and things like that. And it doesn't mean it's a bad movie, but, there was just something about this one that just absolutely just grabbed hold of me. And I was like stuck to my seat until from the beginning to the end. And it was a great story. The performances were absolutely stellar in this one. The whole cast, and it was just I actually recognized some of the faces and things like that as well from different films and TV shows. So yeah, I mean, I love this one. This is just one of those really great films. And you guys, I don't know if we were going to mention it's kind of like had a Rosemary's Baby feel to it as well. But just definitely was just one of those films that you guys got to see. This one. This is, if you love The Witch, Rosemary's Baby, things along those veins, that vein of movie. It's fantastic. I dug it all the way through. It was fantastic. The cinematography was gorgeous too. The scenery, just, kind of just the setting, everything was just absolutely beautiful. But yeah, I was just absolutely hypnotized by this movie. It was fantastic. I can't wait to talk to the director.
Yeah, no, I you know what, you brought a good point up. Sometimes I watch movies in spurts, like I'll 40 minutes here, then finish up or whatever. But this one, I was like, it's a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. The story, I wouldn't say it was like a slow burn because there were some really good scenes, like every 15 to 20 minutes, that was like, and Chris, you mentioned like the gore. It was tough to watch on some scenes.
Yeah.
And some surprising scenes there too. And Muse, one thing I don't do a lot, and you brought this up, is you recognize some of the actors. Like, I had to go back and look, like, who was that guy? Who was this guy? Yep. And it's because they were doing so well. I want to know who they were. I want to know more about it. Yes. But the main actress here, it's Jessica Reynolds. Jessica Reynolds. She's going to be a star, man.
Yes,
she's
going
to be a star.
I was blown away by her performance. She was spectacular. Yes.
Horo, what do you think? First, before you go, I just want to say thank you because I know you set this up. This one, you have not given us a film yet that we didn't like, so thanks again.
Yeah, no problem. I worked hard to get this one. But yeah, one of the reasons why I wanted you guys to enjoy this one as well is because I know you guys like The Witch. And like Chris said, it's not a fair comparison because the stories are a little, have their differences.
Yeah.
But I know you guys like that kind of theme and that kind of atmosphere. And this one kind of goes down that same direction here. But to me, I like the blood and the guts and the gore. And there are scenes in this movie that definitely stand out. One is the sheep scene. So that is really what stuck out for me, besides the fact that it was well acted. Jessica's terrific. And just a lot to like in the movie overall. Really, everything you said, just go along with that. But yeah, the darkness and those bloody and gory scenes really nailed it for me.
Yeah, I definitely think it was like a period piece. And Chris and I were talking about it before. It was like I had to go back and look at the first, like you had the opening crawl credits, and they're talking about the dates. And I thought I read it wrong because did it say 1800 or 1873? And it was 1973. And that really threw me off because you get the feel that it was like a late 1800 movie because of the way these people are living. Another movie it kind of reminded me of was the new Suspiria. How do you say it? Suspiria? Yeah, Suspiria with just the witches and whatnot, and I got that feel, and I think this movie's going to do really well. As Chris and Horo and Muse said, I can't wait to get on the phone here with Thomas Robert Lee. Sorry. But yeah, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with Thomas Robert Lee, the director of The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw.